Hello and welcome. My name is Tracy Campbell. Welcome to My Sweet Home Living. Today I'm so excited that you're going to come join me for some fall crafting. Can't wait to show you what we're doing today. We have had so much fun the last probably 2 weeks creating some fun fall decor that you can use pretty much all season long, well up into the winter holidays as well, or all year for that matter, with the exception of a few pumpkin items. But we have had so much fun creating some things that will work well together in different kind of arrangements and vignettes and all kinds of areas of your home. But I hope you'll come on in and join me today. I have a fun project. And while we're letting folks hop on this morning, let me show you what we created yesterday in case you missed it. Yesterday was kind of a slow day on Facebook, and so I know a lot of you may have missed some things. So I always kind of like to kind of give you a real quick recap of what we've been doing over the last week or so. But yesterday we created some little adorable little primitive bowl fillers. Okay, if you're into primitive style decorating, you'll know that these bowl fillers are like, a big thing. You create different little minis, sort of miniatures to fill little wooden dough bowls or bread boards or things like that, and just kind of tuck them in some cute little spots. But we created a cute little bowl arrangement yesterday with those little primitive bowl fillers. And of course, last week or the week before, this has like been the star of the show, so to say. For the last couple of weeks, is this little feed sack that we created a couple of weeks ago. We've had so many requests for this primitive feed sack DIY that we might just do another one next week. I can't wait to show you. I have a fun project planned for next week already. Actually 2 big projects coming up next week that we'll be using the same idea for the feed sack in combination with something to go with it, of course, and something else that will go well with these little primitive bowl fillers as well. So stay tuned for that next week. I'll be letting you know the dates for that very soon. If you just stay tuned to My Sweet Home Living here on Facebook, I will be posting the dates on that on my page, so you'll know when to tune in for that, because those are some fun projects. I can't wait for those. Well, did you miss the other big fun item that we created on Monday? Some of you were here for this, I know. It's all fruit themed week over in Craft on the Clock group. So if you are not familiar with Craft on the Clock, you may not know what we're talking about. If you are familiar with Craft on the Clock, then you know what an amazing week it's been so far. Lots of fun fruit themed projects. And you may think, okay, well, fruit, that's more of a summertime thing. No. Pumpkins and squash are actually considered fruits, so it has fit into the fall timing of things perfectly. So I made a faux apple pie for primitive style decorating. But if you want to go back and catch the replay, it's here on my page. We did this on Monday. You won't believe how easy it is to do. We whipped this together in a 45-minute segment. Now, there was a little bit of pre-planning and a little bit of other, we had to dehydrate the apples, which, that's easy peasy. But putting it all together and grunging it and everything, less than 45 minutes. And it probably would have only taken probably 30 if I wasn't talking the whole time. But this was so much fun. This smells amazing. We've all kinds of fun projects. You may see a few behind me. We've done the pumpkin and crow a couple of weeks ago. Let's see what else is behind me here. We've done the faux bread. We've done a little primitive jelly jar, which has been another big request. You guys are wanting to see that again. So who knows? We got lots of fun things coming down the loop here. So hop on in here. Let me know where you are tuning in from. You may be watching me here on my page, My Sweet Home Living, here on Facebook, YouTube, or over in the Craft on the Clock group. If you don't know about Craft on the Clock, you want to know. We have live crafting Monday through Friday every week from early morning till late at night. Over 120 creators over there in that group, just bringing you crafting inspiration all day, every day. It's an amazing place to be, so check it out on Facebook if you've not heard of it. All right, let's get busy. Can't wait to show you what we're doing today. I have been so excited to do this for a long time, and it just worked out. I've been thinking, okay, when am I going to do this project? Fruit week. We're doing it because technically pumpkins are a fruit. Now, this is not your average pumpkin project, so don't run away. This is going to be an amazing project that you can use, and it will blow you away, I promise. So you've been seeing a lot of these little fake bakey type things, okay, right? Well, I'm more vintage, primitive, rustic style, okay? So I have to put my own spin and own style on it, right? Which is what we encourage you guys to do too with your projects. Put your own spin on them. Well, we are going to be making a faux pumpkin pie today, but wait. It's going to look so real, you're not going to believe it. So hang with me the next 40 minutes. You won't believe it. I promise you, it will look so real. You won't believe it. Okay, so let me show you some of the main things that we're going to be using for this. You won't believe how easy it is, okay? Air dry clay, all right? Air dry clay. Didn't flip my camera, sorry about that. Air dry clay, you can get this anywhere, you guys. You may even have it in some of your kids' or grandkids' craft stash, okay? You may find this, who knows? I mean, a lot of times people buy it and don't end up using it. You may have a neighbor that wants to get rid of it. Grab it, okay? We're going to be using this today. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. But if you want to make multiples of this, you want to get a big bucket of it. Now, what we're going to be making today is a big make and resell item. If you are into craft shows, craft fairs, you want to make things, resell them, this is a perfect project for that because it doesn't cost a whole lot to actually make each individual item, each pumpkin pie, but you can sell them for some pretty decent money. For example, the little faux bread loaves. And I'm not going to be able to grab my big one. But someone was asking me the other day, what do these, what can you resell these for? Now, this is a mini one, but a full-size faux bread loaf, okay, for example, depends on what market you're selling them to. But on Etsy, these can sell anywhere from the full-size loaf from 15 to 30 bucks. This just costs a couple, maybe, I don't know. I mean, if you buy the foam, you buy the pans, I'm going to say maybe $3 at the most in this, maybe. That might even be a stretch. If you use the disposable pans, you're using the spray foam, you can make multiples of these at a time and sell them, okay? Or give them as gifts. That's the other perfect thing about this. Very budget-friendly decor, okay? And this can go all season long, all right? Now, this is a primitive rustic style. If you want to make it a little more your style and taste, just do a little bit less grunge and a little bit lighter color and a little bit different embellishments, and you've got a whole different style, a whole different look for just a couple of different changes. Good morning, Miss Stephanie. How are you? Good to see you. Okay, now the other thing, these apple pies, these faux apple pies, these are big things. I mean, if you are a crafter creator, you can definitely create this so easy. But if not, you can definitely purchase these as well. But they can be pretty pricey, especially if they have, a good style to them, okay? So think about that. If you are a crafter or creator and you do craft shows, craft fairs, perfect item. So is today's item. So can't wait to hop in and show you what we're doing. We're making this faux pumpkin pie for those of you that are hopping on, but it's not going to be your average everyday faux pumpkin pie, I promise. And we're going to be using some plaster of Paris and, of course, the air dry clay. Well, you know what else we're going to be using today? Two of my favorite grunging items. You all probably can guess, right? My two favorite grunging items. You guys see me use these all of the time. Let me flip my camera for you guys because I want to make sure that you can see everything we're doing today. There we go. Amazing what a little button can do. All right, so this is distressed ink. These are amazing. Okay, now if you've never used them before, once you start using them, experiment with them, I promise you'll be hooked. I promise. Just ask any of our creators. You know, if they've tried them, they love them. And then we're also going to be using this coffee grunge mix, which if you're not familiar with that, you've been seeing me use it all the last 2 weeks, heavy. But if you're not familiar with it, it's just coffee, cinnamon, vanilla mixture that you can apply to fabrics and other type items to give it a more primitive rustic style, okay? So the recipe for this is pinned at the top of My Sweet Home Living's Facebook page, okay? It's super easy. You make a big batch of it, store it in your fridge, pull it out when you need it. You will want to do a good shake because a lot of times the cinnamon will settle down to the bottom, okay? And we're using a little bit of craft paint. That's it. That's it. So very few items today to turn something very ordinary into something extraordinary. So hop on in here and let's get busy. You are going to need a pie pan, of course. Now you can go really cheap with a pie pan, okay? Now technically, I like to get the pie pans that have like a true pie pan has the edge that flares out at the top, right? And has the little lip for the edge of the crust. That is a true pie pan, okay? I have another pie pan that I'm going to show you in a minute where I've kind of already started this project. But for demonstration purposes today, I am just using this cake pan, okay? There is a difference between a cake pan and a pie pan, and you'll see. This is a cake pan. Now the sides, on camera, it does look like they're flared out a little bit, but I promise they're straight up. They're straight up and down compared to a pie pan, which is more angled. There you go. You can see a good difference there. Okay, this is a pie pan. This is a cake pan. For demonstration purposes today, we are using the cake pan. You will want to use a pie pan, which I will show you in just a little bit. All right, so let's get started. You're first going to pull out some clay. All right, this is going to take you back to your preschool days. Play-Doh playing days, that kind of thing, because you're going to get your hands into this and you're immediately going to think back to Play-Doh days. Let me turn this around so you guys can kind of see, and as new friends hop on, they'll see what we're working with. Good morning, Miss Jane. All right, you're going to get a clump, and all you're going to do is kind of roll it. You're going to make a snake. That's what you tell your little ones all the time. You're going to make a snake. Roll it. Make a worm. You know, all those fun words that preschoolers and little toddlers love, right? They can all relate to snakes and worms. Good morning from Wisconsin, Kaylin. Thank you for hopping on and watching. Good morning, Miss Michelle. Okay, so if you have a really good cake pan, you're going to have a really good lip around the edge of your pan. Now, this one's not quite as wide as a regular pie pan. I don't want to get my words confused. There's definitely a difference. A definitely difference between a cake pan and a pie pan. So I'm going to set that little worm, snake, whatever, on top of the rim of my pan. And I'm going to take my hands and I'm just going to kind of just spread it out, okay? I'm going to kind of flatten it somewhat, okay? It depends on how thick you make your little roll, okay? And I'm going to kind of keep going around the edge until I get, I'm going to say that's probably about a half, I don't know, in between a quarter and a half of an inch thickness, okay? You can make it as thick or as thin as you want. Now this air dry clay, you will want it to let it air dry, okay? If you rush the process, it can crack, okay? It can kind of get a little misshapen. So you'll want to plan ahead, okay? This is a project that you'll want to do in stages. So you'll do this step first and let it dry for 24, 48 hours maybe, depending on the humidity of your home, temperature and things like that will depend, will affect drying time. Good morning, Miss Cheryl. Good morning, Miss Pat and Sherry. Thank you for sprinkling. I appreciate that so much. I appreciate it. All right, so we're just going to kind of keep continuing on along the edge and the rim of this pan. We're going to get all the way around, and then you're going to see we're going to mold this into a true pie crust, you guys. If you like to bake, if you like to make homemade pie crust, you'll know it's all in the edging. When you make a homemade pie, that's like the crowning piece is your crust. You want the perfect crust, right? Let's see. Oh, I missed a question, and my hands are kind of icky. Let's see who said something. Making a coffee. Oh, yes, you're going to make the coffee grunge mix today. You have got to. I promise you'll find all kinds of ways, new ways that you'll want to use it. I mostly use it on fabric, but today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to use it on a couple different things. I also mix it with my basic acrylic craft paints for a good grungy look. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so I'm going to kind of take this and just kind of smash it down, make it good contact with the edge of this pan, you guys, okay? And then we're going to kind of go around and shape the edging of the crust. Okay, we're done with this. So make sure you definitely get this sealed back really good because you don't want this big bucket to dry out. Come on. I still feel like it's not sealed good. Okay, maybe we got it. I'll double check that in a little bit. Okay, so here's the thing. Now, there's different ways you can make a crust, right? Or the design of a crust. I like this pinch and finger. I don't know what that's called. Fluted edge, fluted crust maybe. Good morning, Miss Brenda from Southeast Texas. Happy to see you on. Ashley from West Virginia. Thank you. Happy you're here. So here's what I do. Let's go this way so you can kind of see it a little better. I take my pointer finger and my thumb and hold it like this, and then I take my index finger, my other hand, and push it up together to make a little fluted edge. And listen, if you're not a baker, this will fool anybody that walks in your home. I promise. It will make them think that you've worked all day long on this. All right, so here I go. I'm just going to flute the edges of this crust, okay? And obviously, the thicker your crust, the longer drying time is going to need. The thinner, the quicker and less drying time that it will need, okay? So think about that. I want my crust, I want it to be substantial. I want it to be a good, thick, no cheapy pie crust around here, you guys. Even if it's fake, we're going to make it look like the real thing. We got to go all out. Good morning, Miss Sonia. Hey, Denise and Sandy. Thank you all for hopping on. Oh, Miss Sonia, we're using air dry clay right now. That's the first thing that we're using. We're going to be using plaster of Paris here in just a minute. And of course, we're using my favorite coffee grunching technique and distress inks today to create the most realistic faux pumpkin pie you've ever seen. Promise. Hey, Miss Chris, how are you? Good morning, Miss Cheryl. I think I said good morning to you, but hey, a second good morning is even better. Glad you're on here. So, like I said, these are perfect little items that you can make. You can make mini versions of these, but they're perfect to make and resell and give as gifts, you guys. I promise. So now what you're going to do is see how the edge, look at that. Look at that crust. Now, it looks like a basic raw pie crust, an unbaked pie crust, right? It's a little thick down here on the edge. So what I'm going to kind of do now is down on the sides, I'm going to kind of go down and press some of that down into the pan. You can cut some of that off, but you do want it to go down into your pan somewhat because we're going to make some pumpkin pie filling here in just a minute that will fill this up, and we want it to cover the edge. We don't want the bottom edge of this crust to be visible since it's technically not going all the way down in our pan. Yeah, oh, good, Jade. Perfect timing then, right? Perfect timing. I absolutely love pumpkin pie. And I like my pumpkin pie cold. Do y'all like your pumpkin pie cold or warm? My husband loves it. Well, he doesn't love it, but he likes it warm with a dollop of Cool Whip. I like mine cold and plain. Cold and plain. All right, so I've mashed that down in the inside of my pan there, okay? Now, this is what you can do. Let me kind of see if I can show you a little bit of the areas. I don't know if the lighting will cooperate. Right in here. You see a little bit of cracking in the areas. You see a little bit of fingerprints. What you'll want to do to smooth that out so that you don't see any fingerprints or wiping the crime scene clean here, we're going to put just a little bit of water in the bottom of this pan. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my finger into this water and just go around the edges and smooth it down. So anywhere you see cracks or stretch marks on this crust, which this would work in real life, right? Smooth out those wrinkles and stretch marks with a little bit of water. Oh boy, we would all be looking like movie stars. Good morning, Miss Debbie. Cold and plain for you. Oh, you're my girl. You're it. That's the way I like my pumpkin pie too. Like it cold and plain. I know, I'm so weird. Probably, I don't know. I don't know if it's more common to like it warm. That's why I'm asking you guys, because my husband and I have this debate all the time. What brand of air dry cream? Tracy Campbell, you have the best name ever. I've been seeing your name in my comments lately, and I thought, how ironic is that? My name's Tracy Campbell, your name's Tracy Campbell, we're totally different people. I'm sure there's a million Tracy Campbells in the world, but hey, there's only one other Tracy Campbell here on my page that's following. I just used the Crayola air dry clay. Okay, I think any air dry clay would work, honestly. I don't think you have to have anything particular or fancy. So we're going to keep smoothing around these edges just like so. Okay, now I'm going to kind of stop and skip ahead of this step. All right, so you guys can kind of see what else we're doing. But you'll want to smooth down those edges, and that will give you the even more realistic look. Now you're not going to be able to see that from here, but I did. I smoothed out some wrinkles on this, smoothed out some fingerprints that I don't want to be seen, and we're going from there. You know what you could do technically to kind of avoid those fingerprints? Use some gloves, like some latex gloves, when you're doing that little pinching and fluting method around that crust, and that'll avoid the fingerprints, okay? So you won't have to worry about that. Cold pie with homemade whipped cream. Oh, well, see, you're the perfect combination, Chris. You like a little bit of both. That's awesome. All right, so this is perfect if you're on a diet, by the way. No calories involved here, you know, so here you go. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to mix a little bit of plaster of Paris. Now, you won't need a whole lot because this is a little bit of a smaller pan. I didn't even tell you. I think this is probably like a 7-inch. The one that I'm going to show you here in a minute is a 9-inch cake or pie pan, okay? And I used, let's see. I think I used... Oh my gosh, I can't remember. If you'll follow the directions on the plaster of Paris, mix in a little bit at a time until you think you've got enough to fill your pie plate up. If you need a little bit more, you can make another small batch. It's pretty easy. It's just a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 parts plaster of Paris to 1 part water. So if you add 2 cups of plaster of Paris, you're going to add 1 cup of water. All right, and that's probably what I'm going to start with. So, pour this in I would highly suggest a disposable bowl that you don't care too much about ruining. However, if you take this outside is the key word. Don't rinse it out in your kitchen sink, you guys. You don't want this stuff going down your drains because, well, it's plaster. It would not be good. So you want to take this out, rinse it out like in your driveway or in your yard. It's not going to hurt anything there, okay? So I'm putting in 2 cups. This is being a little bit contrary there. All right, 2 cups of plaster of Paris, and we'll see if this is enough for this little 7-inch cake or pie pan here. I'm getting my words all twisted up. All right, so I'm going to use about the same amount of water, okay? And I'm going to put a little bit more because I didn't get quite a full cup. All right, we'll see where this gets us. I have more water and more plaster on hand. I'm going to use like a disposable spoon, sturdy spoon, and we're just going to stir it up. We're going to stir it up, and we're going to pour it right on in. Hello, Miss Debbie. Hello, Miss Sheila. Is anyone else freezing? Uh-oh. Go out and come back in. If that happens, go out and come back in. I promise. 9 times out of 10, it'll fix it. It'll fix it. If it's on your end, okay? On my end, I'm not showing any connection issues, so I think we're good on my end. Do I let the crust dry? Yes. Wendy, glad you said that. I needed to say that. You will want to let your air dry clay dry. I'm going to say probably, I did not do this on my sample one, and it did okay. I let my sample dry for about, I'm going to say 6 to 8 hours before I put my plaster of Paris in, okay? And you would probably want to do the same. At least, if not all the way dry. Now, it will take probably around 12 to 24 hours to dry your air dry clay. Of course, that depends on multiple factors, your humidity, your temperature, and things like that. But you do really want to let it do its thing. You don't want to rush it because that can cause cracking and uneven drying, which is not going to give you a good look in the end, okay? You have done it a dozen times, and you just, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Debbie. I'm so sorry. If you completely close out of your Facebook app, completely close, not just swipe it off, but completely close out of the Facebook app and reopen. Sometimes that will help too. I've had to do that lately too, a few times. So, hey, thank you, Miss Mary. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Penny. How are you, sweet lady? All All right, so we're just going to mix this up real good. It does have a very quick work time, okay? You want to get this mixed up. I'm splattering it everywhere. Don't want to do that. All right, so I have mixed this up. We've got 2 cups of plaster of Paris, 1 cup of water. We're pouring this into a 7-inch pie pan here, okay? And this is not going to be enough, so I'm going to have to make up one more batch, okay? One more batch. You're going to fill that up. You know, we're going to do this really quick. I am going to make a full another batch because I think that filled it up about halfway. I want to fill it above that bottom edge of our crust that we kind of pressed down in there, okay? All right. 2 cups and a little to grow on. All right. Then, 1 cup of water. I need a good cup. I'm going to do a little, what you would kind of call a heaping cup, although water can't technically be a heaping cup, but you know what I mean. A cup and a little bit of extra. All right, stir this up again, and we're going to add this right away. You want to get this added. If you have to do a second batch of this plaster of Paris, you want to get it added pretty quick, okay? You see this? Whew. Does. We're in construction scene here. Good morning, Miss Mara from California. How are you? Good to see you. Good morning, Camille. I do need an apron. You're probably right. I do. Oh, well. Oh, well. We'll manage. I'm just kind of getting the clumps really mixed in here. Oh, good. We're making the best faux pumpkin pie you've ever seen. I promise. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. As soon as I pour this in, I'm going to show you the one that I have been working on since yesterday. I started it yesterday, and I was so excited to get this going and kind of see it unfold. And we're going to finish that one off here in a minute. So sort of like the magic of video here, I do have one already ready to finish off. So not going to leave you wondering and hanging, well, what is it going to look like? Not going to let that happen around here. Nope, not going to let it happen. Not for a super fun project like this. All right, I really can kind of feel some of that plaster mix still down at the bottom. I want to make sure that it's really good and mixed. You obviously want it to be smooth, okay? You don't want to have a clumpy, lumpy pumpkin pie. It's not like homemade mashed potatoes. We want a smooth pumpkin pie. All right. So once you get this filled up, I think this will do the trick. Once you get this filled up, you're going to smooth the top of the surface with the back of your spoon, okay? If you see any air bubbles, you're going to want to make sure that you kind of get those taken care of. Just pop them with a toothpick if it doesn't work with the back of your spoon. Sometimes you can work it with the back of your spoon and get those little air bubbles popped, okay? If once it dries and you still have a few little rough spots at the top or some little air bubbles that you don't want on there, take a fine grit little piece of sandpaper and just kind of smooth the top of the surface, okay? You can even still do that when it's technically just a little bit damp, okay? Now, I do have a few air bubbles on here. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing. I mean, real pumpkin pies have air bubbles, you guys. All right. So if they're still there in a little bit, I'll take a little toothpick and pop those before it gets to drying too good. And then we'll go from there. And we'll smooth down any air roughness with a little piece of sanding paper later. Okay. All right. You guys ready to see? Let me carefully... I should have had a spot to set this. I'm going to slide this very gently right over here. We're going to pretend we're putting it in the oven. All right. So, okay. Now here. I'm fixing to show you the pie that I started on. I've got a little sneak peek down there at the bottom. Could you put the pumpkin spice to make... I'll have to go back and see. I'm not sure what you're asking, Leanne. I'm sorry. So the pie right here. Take a look. Here's what we have. Now you can tell I've already kind of gone around and kind of experimented with coloring my crust a little bit. I left this natural because I wanted you to see the difference. So I've done exactly the same thing. This is a bigger version. This is a true 9-inch pie plate, okay? Now, my air dry clay and this is still a little bit uncured. It's not completely cured, okay? I honestly would probably let this sit for probably another 12 hours, okay? But it's hard to the touch, but it's still, I can still feel a little bit of coolness, which makes me think, okay, it might have a little bit of dampness still in it. So be careful if you kind of rush it along like I am. Thank you, Miss Pat. So what I'm going to do, we're going to work on the crust first. We have about 15 minutes. We're going to work on the crust, and then we're going to paint that pumpkin pie on there with our coffee grunge mix. You guys, hang with me. You're not going to believe it. So let me get my coffee grunge mix. I'm going to shake this up because I want that good cinnamon mix kind of spread through there. Where did my little paintbrush go? There it is. All right, I'm going to take a little brush, not a little, but probably like a little medium size. I don't know what this is. This just came out of my kids' art collection. Shake this up. And what I have done is I've taken this and I've just dipped my brush in there and I've gone around the edge of this crust and given it a light coating of this coffee grunge mix. Now, the other thing about this is if this is good and dry, it will probably soak this up even better. Now, mine still has, like I said, a little bit, just a slight dampness to it. And I'm able to get away with it because it's not too wet. So I just wanted to show you, I'm just taking this and going all in the little nooks, all in the little curves, the little fluted edges, and just coating this on here very thin. I'm not completely soaking it, you guys. But the good thing about this coffee grunge mix is it has a little bit of goopiness to it, which actually helps it kind of stick to your surface a little bit. And so I don't have to worry about it running all over the place. You know, it's not like a liquid that's going to like go spilling everywhere. It's going to kind of cling to your surface, okay? Now, this is what it looks like with one, my lighting is blowing it out of proportion, just one layer of this, okay? If you want to go back after the first one dries, add a little bit more, kind of darken it up in a little bit of places. The great thing about this is it's almost like watercolor painting. It gives dimension. There's dark areas, there's light areas. It makes it look like a real pie crust, you guys. And not to mention, the smell is amazing. This has a cup of water, a half a cup of instant coffee, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of vanilla. I mix it up in an old jar, store it in my refrigerator when I'm not using it, bring it out, heat it up in the microwave when I'm ready to use it, and it's good to go. So you'll want to see, get the level of darkness that you want on your crust. You might have to do 2 coats of this, okay? 2 thin coats. And that's what I'm going to do real quick because I already had 1 coat on here that had dried, okay? All right. Now, if it dries and you want a little bit more of a color to go with, a little bit more of a brownness, we're going to use distressed ink. Now, not distressed oxide. Inks and oxides are a little bit different, okay? I'm going to use ink for this. And this is the Vintage Photo Color. This is just a little mini one. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little blending brush. I'm kind of giving this a real quick dry, just to kind of dry that coffee grunge mix, because I'm going to take this little brush, and what I'm going to do is go over the very tops, the peaks of this crust, and give it a little bit of coloring with this, and it's going to look like the crust has browned beautifully in the oven. I promise. But I need to get rid of this dampness a little bit. So we're going to give this a quick dry. And then while that's drying, here's what I'm going to do. I have a little bit of this left over. I'm going to take a little bit of orange craft paint, okay? And I have a little bit of, I have a glass jar. I have a little bit of this left over from yesterday. But this is the perfect color. And you guys aren't going to believe this. So let me pour this in while this is still drying our crust a little bit. Woohoo! All right. We're going to dump quite a bit of this in because I don't know if we'll need 2 coats of this or not. But what will happen I'm going to take a little bit of this coffee grunge mix, and I'm going to make sure I have it real good and mixed up, shaken up good, because the cinnamon that's in this actually shows through in this mix here in just a minute. When I pour it in with this craft paint, it's going to give it this beautiful pumpkin color, and it's going to make it actually look like, you know how a true homemade pumpkin pie, if it's homemade, okay, it has, look, I've got plaster dust on my arm, you guys. It will have those spices. You will actually be able to see a few of those spices in the cake, or in the pie. I keep saying cake, it's pie. I know that. I don't know why that keeps coming out of my mouth. So I've poured a little bit of that coffee grunge mix into my craft paint. I'm going to mix this up, but it has the yummy smells of the coffee, the vanilla, and the cinnamon, and we're just mixing it all up together, you guys. And we're going to put this right on the center of our pie. Now, I am going to kind of mix this up really good. I am going to do just a little quick test because I want to see if this is the right orange. You know, you can tell when a pumpkin pie is good by the color, okay? You can tell. And if you've ever made homemade pumpkin pie, you know to look for the color. That is going to be perfect. A little bit of brown and a little bit of orange. If you don't want to make the coffee grunge mix, just mix a little bit of brown craft paint. Dilute it a little bit so that it kind of spreads, okay? Because this plaster of Paris will probably soak this up. We'll see. Good morning, Miss Sherry. Good morning. What's the color of the craft paint? It's not any, it's just a bright orange, you guys. You can go with any basic orange color of craft paint, acrylic craft paint. You can get it so cheap, anywhere. It doesn't have to be a certain color. The particular one that I'm using, it's just called, it's Folk Art. It's Vivid Orange Multi-Surface. You don't have to use this specific color, because the wonderful thing about that is the coffee grunge mix will dilute it and already give you that primitive color tone, okay, that you're looking for. All right, here we go, you guys. It's going on. You ready? All right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so good. I'm already seeing the cinnamon, little grains of cinnamon. I guess they're not grains, but you know what I mean. The little flakes of cinnamon. And I'm just going to go around very carefully around the edge and just smooth that around. Now, I guess technically if you wanted to, you could probably pour this and just kind of glide it around. You know what? Let's do it. We can always dry it up with a paper towel if we get too much. We're just going all in, you guys. All right, we've got about 6 minutes. I love this because I can kind of take it and smooth it around, and I'm going to make sure that I go up to the very edge of where my pie crust color, and there you go, meets that plaster that we poured in. So we're just going to smear it around. Now, here's the other thing. If you want to finish this off, and you know how sometimes a pie crust will have a real pretty sheen to it, give it a spray of some satin sealer. Okay, I would recommend to do that anyway. Okay, you want that plaster, or not plaster, but you want that plaster sealed, because it can still absorb things, and so if you splatter it or spill anything on it, especially if you're using this as a prop in your kitchen, you never know what may get splattered on it. So if you seal it, that will protect it, and then that will also kind of help give you a little bit of that shine. After this dries, it will be kind of dull, so if you want to give it a little bit of sheen so it looks more real, give it a light coating of a satin clear sealer. That works perfect. All right. Now, I can see as this is drying, it's going to dry lighter than what it looks like right now. I can already see some areas where it was light. So what I'm going to do, something came out of my paintbrush right there. I'm going to let this air dry, and then I will come back and give it another coat, because I want that orange to be really deep. I want that deep golden orange color. Okay, and I can see as this dries, it's going to be a little bit bright for me. What I also might wait and see is when this dries, if that orange, if I like the coating, if I'm not seeing like paintbrush streaks, what I probably will do is just go over it with a layer of just straight coffee grunge mix, and that will tone down my color even more. But if I'm seeing paintbrush streaks, I'm going to do another coat of this, then another layer of coffee grunge. Okay, how about that? How about that? So you can see I have I can see a little bit of paintbrush marks right in here where it's drying. That's fine. Let it dry. Let it dry naturally. I'm not even going to put the heat on it because I don't want it to overheat my clay and my plaster that is still curing. Okay, I don't want to have any cracks. So everything almost needs to dry naturally in each step. You really can't rush it along. Okay, so patience. Patience with this, I promise, will give you the best results. Okay, so this is soaking in so quickly though. I think I'm going to go ahead and put another quick layer of this on here. Heck with it. Let's just pour it all on here. Because I know it's going to soak in, and I think the heavier the coating, honestly, I think will help it absorb and have a more even color. It's going to soak into this plaster perfect. You just want to make sure that you have it evenly spread around so that you give it that opportunity to soak in. Now you can embellish this with some faux whip, Cool Whip. If you'd like, you can use a little bit of that spackling. Is it light spackling? I can't remember the technical term for it, or the actual name of it. It's the lightweight spackle. That's what it is. In white. Add a little bit of white paint, craft paint to it, and put it in a little piping bag, or put it in a baggie and snip the corner. Make you a little dollop of Cool Whip in the center. Not this girl. I'm a plain pumpkin pie girl. I like mine plain. And so what I'm going to do is, after this dries, I'm going to roll out a little thin layer of some of this air dry clay, just like I did for my crust, and I'm going to make some little miniature leaf cutouts. Paint them up, make them look just like my dough, and I'm going to place those in the center. And it's going to be perfect. So now all we need to do, if I have any air bubbles, I do want to make sure that I pop those, although they do make it look very real. If you've ever, when you beat or mix your pumpkin pie filling, you get those air bubbles, right? Okay, so voila. Now, if you want to kind of darken the edges of this crust, which I almost forgot, we've got 1 minute. Let's do it. I'm going to use this vintage photo, and I'm just going to brush over the edges of this pie crust, and it's going to pick up the peaks of this crust, and it's going to give it that golden browned look, you guys. Oh my goodness. And we did semi-rush this one today, but if you do this, take your time. I promise the results will be worth it, okay? I rushed this one as safely as possible, but it still needs to sit unbothered for probably about 12 to 24 hours, honestly. And of course, when it's finished, you guys know I will share photos. I will share photos, I promise. So I love this because okay, I'm going to hold this back up for you guys before we sign off today. We do have another creator coming up live in the Craft from the Clock group all day long, you guys. And then again tomorrow. You guys don't want to miss it. So look, my lighting. I don't want to tilt this too much because I do have a little bit of layer of paint. Okay, the lighting is making it look really dark, but over here. All right, so this is browned the edges of that crust. Does that not look real, you guys? Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. So we have a faux apple pie this week, a faux pumpkin pie. Hope you all have enjoyed this. I may possibly be live again tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on how our schedule fills up tomorrow in the Craft on the Clock group. If they need a fill-in, I'll be here. I hope you guys enjoy the next crafter. I will see you again so soon. Thank you so much for being here. See you soon. Bye, y'all.